Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We are continuing our deck check-in series where we look at a deck and we're looking at a good one today. Actually, I quite like it. There's kind of some good news and bad news though. So I'm going to start with the good news. I got this thing. It was only 4,001, which is less than $4 US. It's like a flying squirrel and it actually has it's fuzzy. It actually feels soft. You're probably thinking, yeah, that has nothing to do with MTG, Joe. True. The bad news is the MTG related part. I am covering Bant today. So, yeah. I know. It's a shabby state of affairs. I really want to do the color challenge, and I decided, you know what, I should just get this over with. If you watch this channel, you know I don't like Bant. So, I'm probably going to express that a lot during this video. If you don't feel the same way, then you're boring. No, I'm sorry, I'm already starting. We can disagree, it's okay. But anyway, yeah. We are doing Rafiq of the Many. This is actually, I really like this deck. This is, I think this is great at kind of showing, especially like Magic decks are not defined by their color, right? Because you think Bant and you think, wow, that's going to be a stupid deck and no one wants to play against it, and it's going to ruin the experience for everyone at the table because Bant is stupid and awful and terrible. Okay. But anyway, this is actually really cool. I think this is like an interesting way, or especially the focus on the mechanic I really like. I think the person who made this deck really knows what they're doing. Alright, so again, I'm reviewing decks. This is the Bant deck. Yeah. Okay, anyway. So, I think Bant decks end up with very high functionality, having access to blue counters, green ramp, and white doing pretty much anything else you need. You've got really all the answers, counters and card draw blue, and then yeah, you can kind of do anything with it. Which is part of why it's so boring most of the time, because really, I think almost anything is defined as much by its limitations as what it can do. So yeah, like if you had Christopher Walken just doing a really boring drama thing. Maybe Christopher Walken, he does do drama and he does it great, so it's a bad example. Tim Curry, my favorite actor, Tim Curry. If he was doing this really dry, dramatic role, you'd be like, it's probably still good, but that's not why you're in it for Tim Curry. You want to see some over-the-top zaniness and some fun out of him. You want him running around for 20 minutes explaining the crime type of thing, you know? Yeah. But anyway, this deck is, this is actually pretty good. I like it. So this avoids the Bant boredom by going all in on a very interesting and underutilized mechanic, Exalted. So this is all about Exalted, which is something I never really paid that much attention to before, and I'm definitely going to keep in mind in the future because it's pretty awesome. Okay, you probably already know what Exalted does, but I'm going to go over it really quick. 1 green, white, blue. I guess I'm going over the commander first, but for this 3/3, 4 mana for 3/3. But you're going to see. So Exalted, so whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. This is for all Exalted things, and remember, this applies to other creatures, not just itself. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. Second thing, these stack. So everything that you have that says Exalted, if you attack alone with a creature, it's going to give that +1 just by attacking. It doesn't have to do anything else. You don't have to tap to activate. You don't have to pay mana. You don't have to whatever. Nope, it just does it. Just by attacking alone, this happens. Very easy trigger to set off. And whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike until end of turn. Whoa, yeah. Double strike and bonus damage. You probably already have the same thought that I did. This looks like a Voltron thing, right? It's an option. A Voltron option is kind of interesting. But yeah. So yeah. It's a combination of Voltron and just general combat. is what I would say. And you can really win either way. I think that's what makes this deck very interesting, is that like you've got the Voltron that's really just an option. You don't really rely on it to win. Not at all. You can just as easily like make one creature unblockable and just do a pile of damage with that as well. So yeah, the evasion and bonus damage is kind of what this is all about. Alright, so we're doing the color challenge. This is between the deep deck dives, my deck techs, and my deck reviews. I'm doing the color challenge. Again, this is one of the deck reviews I'm using for Bant because I don't want to make a Bant deck. Here we go. So we've done most of the monocolors actually. I don't know why it's doing that in this order, but yeah. We've done, 4 of the 5 monocolors, all of the dual colors, some of them more than once, and we've got over half of the tricolors. Yeah, we have Grixis as well. There you go. I was wondering. So yeah, we've got the colorless green and I guess was it 5 of the 4 colors left. The 4 color ones, or sorry, yeah, we've got 3 of the 3 colors and 4 of the 4 colors is what I should say. Anyway, we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, Rafiq of the Many. Once again, I divided this into 2 different decks. So there's the original deck, which I think is stronger, but especially in card draw, it's much stronger. I think this might actually get to the win con. My budget deck might get the win con faster. Like it's got more for damage boosts and things like that. So kind of hard to say. I think it's somewhat situational which one is better. But anyway, the original deck is 113.67. A lot of that, about half of that is in, what do you call it? Getting cards. Blue enchantment. Ristic Study. There you go. My brain works. Anyway, Ristic Study. So I took that out. That was really about almost $50 of it right there. So yeah. The disparity in price looks very huge, but that one card accounts for the vast majority of it. Okay, so my budget deck is only $33.29. Again, the original is an actual deck. I made my budget version based on its list. So again, the person who was very nice to help me out, I really appreciate that. I got this from the Budget Magic group. I posted saying, I don't want to do a bad deck. Can someone give me a list for a bad deck? And this person was nice enough to step up and send me their deck list. So I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. I don't want to say their name because I didn't actually ask permission to use their name. But I guess, anyway, I'm not going to say how to figure it out. That would probably not be helpful. So yeah, I have posted both the original and my budget version on, in the comments is what I meant to say. My original version is on moxfield.com. Or sorry, my budget version and the original are on moxfield.com. I obviously didn't post them, the original on Moxfield. This is someone else's. So I wrote that confusingly. I was probably being distracted by a 9-year-old, I believe is what happened. Usually at least. I think the budget version can keep up with the original version in most categories. Pretty happy with how it came out. I really do like how this one came out. I managed to actually get more Exalted and more damage boosts into the budget one. Well, yeah, so again, I think the original is probably like stronger overall, but for getting that kind of focusing on the win con, I think I did more of that with the budget version. Again, Rafiq of the Many. So it's important to look at the Exalted. First of all, I already talked about Exalted a bit, but we'll go over it really quickly one more time. Again, the most important thing is they stack. So getting a whole bunch of Exalted doesn't mean you're like wasting it. Things like Double Strike. If you get like 5 different sources of Double Strike doesn't make it like Quintuple Strike. It's still just Double Strike, right? Death Touch. If you get a whole bunch of sources of Death Touch, you don't like send them to the graveyard more times or something. Like, no. It doesn't really stack. This does stack. So a lot of things like similar to this do not. This does. Again, getting commander damage with Double Strike becomes fairly easy, and as does combat. Again, getting your commander damage. With Double Strike, you only need 21 for commander damage, so with Double Strike, you need 11. If you get through with 11 damage and your commander has Double Strike, there you go. You're done. You're one-shotting whoever you want. And yeah, this also helps out just any creature attacking solo. It's not only your commander, so that's what's really kind of cool about this deck, is that it's not really putting all the eggs in one basket. I think that's kind of the real downside to most Voltron decks, is that like you're like, yeah, if this doesn't work, I lose. And really, if they get, you know, they manage to send him back to the command zone or whatever multiple times, and you're having trouble recasting him, not the end of the world with this deck. This deck is still going to get so much bonus damage that you could just win in regular combat as well. Star cards. This deck is all about boosting your single attacker in combat. So whichever attacker you're using, that single attacker, as long as you can get them boosted up, you're going to probably be able to take the game on that alone. Defensively, what's really important is being able to remove your opponent's threats, right? Anything that might get in your way or trip you up, those enchantments or artifacts that might make attacking more difficult, being able to like destroy them or get them off the battlefield right away. Offensively, this focuses on evasion and combat tricks, right? So having lots of things to pull in combat and just tons of evasion. As much evasion as you can pull off. Removal. So we've got Glitzspire Avenger. So this is a Bant. Again, green, white, blue. 2/2. Also has Exalted, so that's nice. And you can tap him to destroy target creature that dealt damage to you this turn. This is a great threat to have, right? Like, if you get through, that's fine, but then your creature's done. Guaranteed, one creature that damages you every turn, you're just going to nuke it. So yeah. Really, something for them to consider. Like, you can always just go, yeah, sure, I'll take the damage, and your creature, bye-bye. It's, yeah, quite a threat. Broken Wings. 2 and a green. This is a little more pricey than a lot of people want to have, like 3 mana for removal, but the flexibility is real nice. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or flying creature. Artifact and enchantment are always the main things I look for with removal, because creatures you can take out with combat damage, but it also gets rid of a creature. If you have a flying creature that's a real nuisance, this is a great thing to have, because one of the things we rely on is flying, that type of evasion. So if they have a blocker that's flying, you want to get rid of it so you can just get in and get your damage. Alright, Parting Gust. This is actually something I added in my budget deck. So I really love this one though, so I wanted to talk about it. For 2 white, this instant says, oh, you can gift a tap fish, exile target non-token creature. If the gift wasn't promised, return target creature to the battlefield under someone's control with a +1/+1 counter on it at the beginning of the next end step. So if you promise the fish, if you give someone a 1/1 fish token, a tap fish token, you can exile this and exile a creature and just get rid of it, or you can remove something from the battlefield and have it return at the end of the next combat. You can use this on your creature to get them to avoid removal, or use this on someone else's to move it out of the way so you can get your attack in. Just all kinds of flexibility there. Fade into Antiquity. Okay, so this is 2 and a green. Exile target artifact or enchantment. So this is one I almost cut from the budget one, but the thing that saved it was exile, right? It doesn't say destroy, it says exile, which can just get around all kinds of problems, so nice to have. Return to Dust. Again, this is once again from my budget upgrade, but this has almost the same one in green. So they have almost the same removal in green, but it costs 5 mana instead of 4. Anyway, exile target artifact or enchantment. If you cast a spell during your main phase, you may exile up to one other target artifact or enchantment. So cast this during a main phase, and then you get to exile 2 things. For 4 mana, exiling 2 is actually quite good. Especially, it's exile, right? Not destroy, it's exile. So yeah. Very nice. I think the green one was destroy, not exile. Anyway, I could be wrong, frankly. Evasion. Alright. Thassa, God of the Sea. 2 and a blue for this 5/5 indestructible. So first of all, 3 mana for a 5/5. What? Anyway. As long as your devotion to blue is less than 5, Thassa isn't a creature. So basically she's only an enchantment if your devotion to blue is less than 5. Again, that just means like you have 5 pips. Blue pips or mana symbols. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. Do not underestimate scry 1. Scry 1 might be exactly what you need almost every turn. Scry 2, I think, is like where I think, oh, this is like setting you up guaranteed. Scry 1 is at least improving your chances. So for 1 and a blue, target creature you control can't be blocked until this turn. That's what I should say. I almost said until end of turn, which is the same thing, but... So, just evasion, right? 2 mana, anything has evasion. On this indestructible thing, that will be an enchantment, unless, like, you've already got your board set up. Jessian Balm Giver. This is one I think I've seen before, and I kind of read the first part and then got bored and didn't finish reading, which was a bad call. You'll see why. 1 white blue, and tap it, prevent the next 1 damage that we dealt to target creature or player this turn. Sure. This is something that cards from like the 90s love to have. Kind of don't care. But the next part is amazing though. Tap. Target creature is unblockable this turn. So no mana cost, no nothing. Just tap it and you can attack. The nice thing about Thassa in comparison, it does cost 2 mana, but you can just keep doing it, right? She doesn't have to tap. That means you can do it over and over and over to a whole bunch of creatures, if need be. Probably you just want to attack alone anyway, so... But it keeps your options open. Whisper Silk Cloak, once again, it has Shroud and Unblockable. The equipped creature, so very nice. Knight of Glory. So this is for 1 and a white, this is a 2/1. And it has Exalted, which is nice. Also protection from black. So black cannot affect it, it can't target it, it can't block it. So against anything that is black or has black in its color identity, even if it's like, let's say Mardu, right? If it's a Mardu creature, can't block it. If it has black at all, it cannot be blocked. Yeah, it can't block something with protection from black. Jedit Ojanin, Mercenary, 1 white blue. So he makes these. Whenever he or another legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay a green. If you do, create a 2/2 green cat warrior creature token with Forest Walk. Those 2/2 creatures usually aren't that impressive. The Forest Walk is what really sells it in this deck, because that means you could just like make one of these, send it at someone that has any forest, and they can't even block at all. Remember, Forest Walk is not exclusively like basic land forest. It's any land that has like the forest keyword. Or type word, I should say. It's not the right term either, but anyway. If it says forest in like the type, text. So even triomes that include a forest, if they have one of those, that counts. So yeah. Be able to get a lot of attacks through with that. Combat tricks. Okay, this is what I got so excited to see. I have this card from like back in the 90s. This makes me think the guy that made this is around my age, like into his 40s, maybe early to mid 40s, I think. Like I am? Anyway. One in white, target green creature gains first strike until end of turn. First strike is actually quite good. Remember, you're also going to have like double strike. So first strike is going to help out a lot. But yeah, if you don't have your commander out, so being able to like suddenly give any green creature first strike is going to make the choice of whether to block or not very, very difficult. Especially if you got trample on that creature as well. They're going to want to like block it, but what's the point? If it is green and it has trample and it can have first strike, it's going to just like take out that creature and then hit the player anyway. So yeah, makes for some tough choices. Also, I just love the art and everything. I miss the old cards. Dauntless Escort. So, 1 green white. Sacrifice this. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Just an amazing card. I've used this a few times, but I should use it like anytime I can. Because yeah, most board wipes are just going to be like destroy all creatures, and this is going to like automatically let your whole board survive. Just by sacking this one creature, then hey, good to go. Especially if you got some way to get him back, which this deck can do. It's not great at it, but it can do it. Airy Mystics for 4 and a white. Again, this is a 3/3 flyer for 1 green blue. Creatures you control gain Shroud until end of turn. Shroud is something that can be offensive or defensive, right? If you're attacking with that one creature, what you really don't want is targeted removal, taking that creature out before it gets through. So even if you have this on the battlefield on 3 open mana, they're going to be like, oh, there's no point in using this targeted removal because they're just going to drop Shroud right away, and my spell is basically going to fizzle, right? It'll no longer be a legal target and just doesn't work. So yeah, it's a very important little trick in this deck. Mirror Sigil Sergeant. For a 5 and a white. This is a 4/4 with trample. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a blue permanent, which you probably will, you may put a token that's into play that's a copy of Mirror Sigil Sergeant. So this is going to keep making copies of itself. These 4/4s with trample, then they're going to attack alone, and so it's going to have right? The trample and exalted, all the exalted triggers going off, are just going to make it like take down. They're going to have to throw so much stuff in the way of that to just be able to like slow it down even. That yeah, you're going to be using your one token to remove like a chunk of people's boards every turn, unless they just take a pile of damage. Jaheira's Respite for 4 and a green. Search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the number of creatures attacking you. Put those cards into the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Oh boy, that's going to be so much ramp. You do need 5 open mana, so it's not a small amount, right? But it's quite a little trick there. And prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn. So this is such a like, oh, you're attacking me? Great. I'll cancel all the combat damage and just get a whole bunch of lands for all of the things you're swinging at me with. The plan. Okay, how does this deck play? Step 1, especially in a tricolor or more deck, ramp and fix, right? Have lots of ways to get your lands down and get the right colors of lands down. Step 2, Exalted. Big surprise, I guess. Step 3, win cons. So the win cons are, again, it's one of those decks where it's like it's combat, right? You want to win through combat. How you win through combat is more the variation there. Ramping and fixing. So we got Spara's Adjudicators. Again, this is a 2 Bant, so green, white, blue for a 4/4, which is, And when it enters the battlefield, target creature and opponent controls can't block until end of your next turn. That's actually not too shabby, right? So if you cast in your first main phase, you can make it so something can't block for like 2 combats. Alright, not bad. But what you really want this for is paying 2 exile it from your hand and target land gains. Tap to add green, white, or blue. You may cast it. You can still cast it from exile, basically. So you pay 2, you exile this, and this makes any land basically into like a triome. Then you can get any color you want from it, and yeah, anytime you want, you can still cast this. So really kind of like nothing really lost there. I'd probably only use it for the mana fixing, not actually the creature, but you never know. It's nice to have it as kind of like a trick as well. So if you're in a situation that calls for it, maybe that will be the solution. Sakura Tribe Elder for 1 green. You can sacrifice this. Sorry, it's a 1/1 for 1 green. You can sack it and search your library for a basic land card. Put that onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So what you really want to do with this is like put it as a blocker, and as soon as it's assigned as a blocker, the creature's blocked. Whether or not the creature that's blocking it remains there or not, then you sacrifice it. And then you go get your land. So basically you get a free block out of it, and you get your land ramp. And the other person is just like stuck with like, I guess trying to fight the air or something. So yeah. Thirsting Roots. Very underrated effect. Okay, for 1 green, you can choose one. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. That is very, very, very good, okay? I feel like people stress ramp all the time. If you're missing your land drops, you're just paying a whole bunch for land drops. You're not ramping, right? So this 1 mana to just get a land to your hand, it's really good. Especially if you want to fix, or if you want to like just make sure you're getting your land drop. Perfect, right? Paying 2 or 3 mana to like get a land to the battlefield. If you're missing your land drop, then that's just really expensive land drop, right? Alright, second option, proliferate. If you've got all your lands you need and all that stuff, great. Just proliferate instead. We don't have a whole lot of counters in this deck, but there are some. You might be able to get use out of that. Seek the Wilds. Okay, for 1 green, this is a sorcery. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them, put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. So what's really nice about this is that it's like land or creature. You want to hit your land drop? There you go. You need to get a creature into the battlefield, or you're hoping for another Exalted or something like that. Okay, great. We'll do that. It really does give you the option. Once again, it does not specify basic land or anything like that. It just says land. So if you get some kind of dual land or even like something fancy, hey, no problem. You can take that. Cultivate. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands. This is basic. Reveal those cards. Put the one into the battlefield tapped and the other one to your hand. Then shuffle your library. Again, 1 to hand, 1 to the battlefield. Ramp and setting you up for the next land drop. Just a great spell. I know it's cultivate, so everyone knows it, but let's, think about why is it, such a staple? Because it is just that good. I actually need to use this more, I think. I think it's so common that you might start going like, it's boring, but maybe it is kind of boring, but it's boring because you see it everywhere because it's really good. You know what? You know what's boring? Pencils. Because they work, they're everywhere. Exalted. Cathedral of War. This is one I actually hadn't seen before. I feel like this should be in most commander decks. Alright, so you could tap to add 1 colorless. So it's a land that only produces 1 colorless. Sounds not good, right? It has Exalted. It's a land with Exalted. It's under $2 as well. I gotta put this in a video, I think. This is actually just so good. It does enter the battlefield tapped as well. So, hey, there's another downside, but a land with Exalted. Like, if you're going for commander damage, that's insane. Don Ray Archer. I almost said Don Way. It's not a supermarket. Anyway, 2 in a blue for this one. Once again, Exalted. These all have Exalted. And for 1 white, you can tap it. Dawn Ray Archer deals 1 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. You never know if that might make the difference. Like, again, if you've got a blocker, someone's blocking you, they might have it just on the edge. What this really does is it makes the math a lot more complicated for everyone, right? If someone's blocking you, they have to like try and go like 2 over rather than just 1 over. So it's a math trick is what it is. Quasali, I think Quasali Pride Mage? Quasali? I feel like that's something someone's going to tell me I'm saying wrong. A green and a white for a 2/2. Once again, Exalted. And pay 1, sacrifice it, destroy a target artifact or enchantment. More removal. Cannot get enough in this deck, so happy to see it. And it's got Exalted, so if it's just sitting on the battlefield, great. You're getting some value out of having that threat on the battlefield. Wave Skimmer Avon, 2 Bant, so green, white, blue, for a 2/4 flyer. What's really important with this one is just that, flying, right? We want that evasion. Evasion is very key with this kind of like Exalted deck. Anyway, it also has Exalted, so there you go. If it attacks alone, it'll give itself. Remember, Exalted does work on the creature itself. It's not only other creatures, it's just attacking alone is the only thing it cares about. Battle Grace Angel. So whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains lifelink until end of turn. So your solo attacking creature is going to have Exalted, Double Strike, Lifelink, like, oh boy. Maybe Trample, yeah. You're just taking care of all kinds of problems right there. Win con number 1, Tyvar's Stand. This I think mostly is what I'd use with like the commander damage win con right there. So target creature gets +X until end of turn and gains hexproof and indestructible. So +X, hexproof, indestructible. Oh, especially if you're going for the commander damage win con, someone's going to want to do that like removal on you. Basically bait out the removal, right? Attack and be like, hey, I'm coming at you with my commander, it's commander damage, and it's going to one-shot you, or close to one-shot you. Instead of them like removing the threat, you're going to make it an even bigger threat, right? They think they're going to get like, 12 commander damage or something. Instead, you give it that extra boost, and it's going to turn into just like end of the game for them. So yeah. Remember, with Double Strike, you only need to do half as much mana. So that if you have him like up to being a 6/6 with Exalted, he only needs what? That'd be up to 12. So he needs only 6 more. So if you cast this for 7, you can counter that removal spell. You can give him his damage boost and make him indestructible just for fun. Why not? Stoic Angel. So this is a real mean one. This is getting into kind of a stack thing. 1 green, white, blue for this 3/4 Flying Vigilance. Again, Vigilance so amazing here, and flying. So evasion and just doesn't tap when it attacks. Also, players can't untap more than 1 creature during their untap step. This does include you, but you don't care. You only really need 1 creature untapped so that you can attack with it. And even, remember, Stoic Angel has Vigilance. So she can attack and you can untap something else, and then she attacks and you untap something else. You can keep untapping things slowly as the turns go on, which is going to really frustrate everyone else at the table. But yeah, they're going to really have to be careful about how they untap things. Again, if you can give her any other form of evasion on top of this, she's probably going to get through against at least someone. Win con number 3. This is almost like synergistic with all the other win cons, so I don't know if I should call it 3 or more or what, but Finest Hour. So 2 and Bant, so green, white, blue for this enchantment. Again, the enchantment has Exalted too, which is always nice to see. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, if it's the first combat phase, untap that creature. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Okay, so if you got your commander, you made him unblockable until end of turn, swung and one-shotted that player. Good news, there's a second combat. You're just going to do it again. Speaking of unblockable end of turn, Jesse and Balm Giver we talked about before, and yeah, tap Jessian and just make one creature unblockable until end of turn. Not for one combat until end of turn. So remember, that second combat doesn't affect the unblockable thing. Sigil of Valor. And for 2 mana, this is an equipment. It only costs 1 to equip, which is really nice. So you can move this around pretty easily without like having to worry about mana cost. Whenever a equipped creature attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each other creature you control. So basically it acts like Exalted, but it's not Exalted, which is really nice because then not only can you get a bonus from another creature having Exalted, just having the creature gives you the bonus again. This is an effect I added a lot more of in the budget one. So yeah, I think I added 3 more of these in the budget version. So yeah, it will get some work done. Once again, you can just put this on your commander for the commander damage or any other creature and do it that way. Any creature you're making big enough and like unblockable is just going to keep ending the game as well. Suggestions. Okay, so this deck was already built as a budget deck and a well-made one that I think this was really well done. What I did is I came in afterward and I just like made it even more budget, which is super easy to do. You know, it's like the backseat driver of deck building. But anyway, I actually like doing this a lot. For one thing, it is so much easier than actually just building a deck outright. I can kind of like just go through and be like, you know, pick out a few things and chalk them and slot in these other ones that are cheaper. Real easy to do. So I want to be clear here. I am not like ripping on choices made. I just think it's much easier to like kind of, you know, what is the expression? Couch quarterback or something like that. It's, of course, everything is gone from my brain when I'm trying to talk about it. But anyway, yeah, again, I made changes primarily to reduce the cost. Again, taking out Ristic Study was like, I think $45 drop right there. So yeah, that was a big one. But obviously the card draw is nice. But I am trying to keep the same general tactics and everything like that. So I'm not doing any major departures. In previous ones, sometimes I have made some pretty major changes to decks. Like the Selesnya one, where I basically took it in from a like deck that was about tapping into a vehicles deck. So yeah, not doing anything that major here. This is really kind of fine-tuning, I'd say. Replaceable cards. As I said, Ristic Study, just purely based on cost. Ristic Study, I have this actually, and I never used it in decks because it's in my binder, because it's too expensive. Chroma's Will, I have this in a binder as well, and I also don't use it. Spara's Headquarters, I do not have this actually. I should try to find it. I wouldn't mind doing another Streets of New Capenna opening, but anyway. Again, all of these taken out purely due to cost. Amazing cards removed for cost reasons only. Mystical Tutor, taken out partly for cost. Also, we kind of don't care as much about like finding instants. Being able to like pull out an instant is very nice, or instant or sorcery is very nice, and it can help set up a lot of things, but not really what this deck is about. I went in favor of a different type of tutor, basically, so that's also way under $1. Elixir of Immortality. I took this out because I think in a previous iteration of the deck, there's a lot more like sacrificing and going to the graveyard. Like there's a lot of effects about like pulling lands at the graveyard, which didn't really do. So even if it had like mill or something, I didn't really see that though. I think maybe an earlier version of the deck did have it, and then yeah, these are kind of the leftovers from that. You know, like the, what is it, the spleen. Okay, never mind. Lame biology joke. Okay, Ristic Study. What am I replacing it with? Staggering Insight. Okay, this is only this is an aura. I did a lot of auras. It gives you a +1/+1 and lifelink. So that's nice things to have. And whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Again, we've got tons of evasion, and we've got a little extra damage. That lifelink is nice, but card draw is only 1 per turn, and assuming you get that damage through, so not as good, but I think 45 times cheaper, actually over 45 times cheaper. So if you look for budget, it's worth it. Chroma's Will. This is really all about like your vigilance, double strike, flying, lifelink, indestructible, and protection from all colors until end of turn. It's a counter spell. It's, you know, it's going to protect it. It's going to like make it unblockable. It does really just about everything. But what I'm focusing on is the kind of like I've added lots of other ways to get unblockable. So yeah, what I wanted to focus on is Rancor. Again, equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has trample. More trample is what I really wanted to do there. So this is kind of like the green version of evasion is trample, right? Like, it's not evasion, but it's going to get the damage through anyway. And that's kind of what evasion does. So, but the nice thing is that when Rancor is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return it to its owner's hand. So this is just going to keep bouncing back to your hand, and 1 mana to cast, giving anything a +2 damage and trample just over and over and over. And yeah, they have to exile it to get you to stop having access to that. Oh boy. Spara's Headquarters, changing to Pit of Offerings. This is a card I put in like every deck. The fact that it's under $1 is insane. So yeah, it enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 3 target cards from graveyards. So you get to exile 3 cards. It's basically, yeah, a land graveyard hate. First of all, very, very good. Secondly, the colors of whatever you exile are what it can tap for. So it can tap for colors or any color you exile. You want 3 different colors, so it's not hard to get at least 1 or 2 of the colors that you are using. And even if you have to exile one of your own cards from your graveyard, you know what? It's probably worth it for the mana fixing. Mystical Tutor. Analyze the Pollen. Yet another one where I'm like, why is this so cheap? So for 1 green, you can go get a basic land to get that land drop if you need it, or a mana fix if you need it. And if you collect Evidence 8, which means you exile 8 things worth 8 mana from your graveyard, then you can go get any land or any creature. Any, not basic, any land, any creature. So really, you can kind of set up whatever you want with that. Super useful. Why is it still under $1? Again, Elixir of Immortality. Switching to Key to the Vault for 1 in a blue. This is 2 in a blue to equip. So whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, look at that many cards from the top of your library. Okay, that really incredible. That many cards from the top of your library. With the Exalted, a bunch of Exalted triggers, that's going to be a whole whack of cards. You may exile a non-land card from among them. Put the rest on your library in any order, or in a random order, sorry. You may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. So yeah, you're probably you're exalted. Sorry, you're exalted means you're gonna have a whole bunch of cards to look at. You take whatever one you want, Excel it, then you can cast it for free. Insane. Insane. Like, really? Just anything you need, you're probably going to be able to get in like 2 attacks. You're going to have whatever like win con setup you want. Alright, so we got Guafa Hazid, Profiteer. Sure, I'm not saying that right, but 1 white-blue Azorius for a 2/2. And for white and blue, you can tap them to put a bribery counter on things. Creatures with bribery counters can't attack or block. So this is nice in this deck because, you know, you have so many creatures that you really just want for the Exalted. You don't ever really need them to attack. Yeah, and when you put a bribery counter on them, you draw a card. Again, losing more card draw, which I'm not excited about, but Sublime Archangel. 2 white for this 4/3 flyer with Exalted. Other creatures you control have Exalted. So yeah. And creatures can have more than 1 instance of Exalted. So a creature can have Exalted and be granted Exalted and give the attacking solo creature +2/+2. So yeah, you win. You win. Janara, Asura of War. Green, white, blue. This is a flying 3/3. Flyer's quite nice in general in this deck, but yeah. And for 1 white, you could put a +1/+1 counter on her. Could definitely be worthwhile, but Pippin, Guard of the Citadel. I should say the whole word. For a white and a blue is a 2/2. Vigilance, Ward 1. Vigilance. In this deck, Vigilance is so good. Ward, people complain about Ward, but you know, it's better than nothing, is what I always say. It's just like, it's better than nothing. I don't know why my throat is totally messed up all of a sudden. Tap another target creature you control gains protection from the card type of your choice until end of turn. The card type. So tap Pippin, choose anything you want. Your 1 solo attacker, protection from creatures, can't be blocked. Done. Any abilities they have or anything like that, can't use it. Or if you have another way to give them the creature evasion, keep Pippin open so that if they try to use some kind of target removal, they use an instant. Great. Protection from instants. Cancelled. Just kind of Swiss Army knife there, Pippin. Bonus upgrades. So these are some other things I put in that I kind of mentioned before. Oh, my throat is like done today. Idolized. Okay, another aura. This creature, whenever it attacks alone, gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of non-land permanents you control. Again, just non-land permanent. Doesn't have to be creature. So, not bad. Strength of the Harvest. A creature gets +1/+1 for each creature and or enchantment you control. We've added a whole bunch of like auras and things like that, so you're going to get some bonus from enchantments and all the other creatures. Remember, you don't need a whole lot to get to like a pile of damage. Your solo attacker is going to have double strike, so any +1/+1 is really +2/+2. You're probably going to end up with at least like +4/+4 from creatures and maybe another +1 or +2 from enchantments, and that's going to be +12/+12 already. Or, sorry, not +12/+12. +12 damage. Like, ooh. Angelic Exaltation. For 3 and a white, this enchantment. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creatures you control. Once again, not as good as Idolized because it's only countered creatures, but also better than Idolized because it's just anytime a creature attacks alone. You're not putting on one specific creature. This will trigger on any solo attacking creature. So you can even like make it look like you're about to attack with that one creature and then do this other creature. And maybe that will be the difference. You never know. Final thought. So while I am not a fan of the color combination, I do like this deck a lot. So I think this deck is a great example of like how you don't really have to be kind of pigeonholed in your color identity. Like I know a lot of Boros people always, I've even got the Boros equipment deck, right? People think it's kind of boring sometimes, which I suppose it is, but you know, it works too. But yeah, there's always all kinds of like newer cards are focusing on giving Boros kind of more options. Like Abella, is it the doll's name, Abella? Where this the low CMC creatures entering, getting a whole bunch of benefits from that. So yeah, exploring kind of what decks can do or colors can do. Again, yeah, again the flexibility of color combinations. Oh, I love it when it goes too far. I also like the kind of play on theme of this deck. So yeah, again, it's like a Voltron deck that doesn't need to worry about being Voltron. It's a very odd combination, but a very powerful and kind of nice variation on Voltron, I think. Whereas like almost any creature can be like your Voltron rather than just your commander. Take it easy.